everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So I'm excited to come to you guys today with another big win. This time it involves concealed carry and the state of New York. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here. So after the Bruen decision, New York and a lot of other states had to rewrite their carry laws. Existing carry laws had a requirement that you show either good cause or just cause or some kind of imminent need in order to get a permit. It wasn't a right, it was a privilege that was granted by the government. Well, the Supreme Court in Bruen said you're not allowed to do that anymore. People have a right to carry outside the home for their own defense, and so New York had to rewrite their laws. Well, like a lot of other states again, instead of making it easier for people to get their permits, they made it more difficult for people to get their permits. More expensive, more training, more time. I mean, you name it, it was more difficult across the board. One of the things that they also changed was these so-called sensitive locations. They decided to make nearly the entire state a sensitive location. And one of the ways that they did that is they did something very similar to what California did. They came out with something called we call it the vampire rule. The vampire rule basically says that unless a private business has a sign in the window that meets the specifications that the state requires, but a sign in the window or a sign at the entrance saying that you are allowed to carry in that business, you aren't allowed to carry in that business. So it was essentially a ban by default, because if the owner just forgot to put up a sign or just didn't put up a sign for whatever reason, or didn't even know that the law had changed, whatever, you were legally, according to New York law at least, not allowed to go into that business. If you did and you got caught, then obviously it would be trouble. I myself wouldn't give a shit if there was a sign in the window or not, but that was what the law was. So it was known as the vampire rule. Based on vampire lore, they can't come in unless you invite them in, and it's kind of the same thing here. So that basically knocked out a huge portion of where people could carry. You couldn't leave your house and still be able to carry throughout your day because of this rule. Because of that rule, it meant that you had to somehow find a way to disarm yourself every time you went into a different type of business. Plus, parks, playgrounds, I mean, you name it, it was absolutely terrible. Well, a judge just struck down the vampire rule in New York. Check this out. Okay, so here's a look at the decision and order from the court. It says, a newly enacted New York law makes it a felony for a licensed concealed carry holder to possess a firearm on all private property, unless the relevant property holders actually permit such possession with a sign or by express content, at least as to private property open to the public. New York's restriction is unconstitutional, a result dictated by the teaching of the Supreme Court's recent cases addressing individual Americans' right to keep and bear arms. Now, like the state typically does, they asked the judge to put a stay on the order, so a 14-day stay, but the judge actually denied the state's request for a stay pending appeal, which is phenomenal. It means the judge firmly believes that the plaintiffs have a likelihood of success on the merits here, where it says the state requests a 14-day stay pending appeal. That request is denied. So I'll read you the conclusions here, where it says, for the reasons above, it is hereby ordered that plaintiffs' motion is granted with respect to the state's restriction on private property open to the public. Defendant's motion is denied as to the issue, and it is further ordered that defendants and their officers, agents, servants, employees, and all persons in concert or participation with them who received notice of this order are permanently enjoined, effective immediately, from enforcing New York Penal Code Section 265.01-D with respect to private property open to the public and their regulations, policies, and practices implementing it. And it is further ordered that the remaining aspects of the parties' motions at docket 73 and 77, including as to public parks restrictions, are held in abeyance pending further order from this court, and it's further ordered that defendants' request for stay pending appeal is denied. And this is at October 10th. So this just happened today. The judge was John L. Sinatra, Jr. Now, I'm not sure if you guys caught that at the end, but the public parks restrictions are actually being held in abeyance, meaning that they're kind of holding off on a decision on that one until another outcome from the court. So that one could be overturned as well, because that's, I think, a really important one, because we want to protect our loved ones, and being disarmed when you go to a place like that, it seems to me to be kind of ridiculous. But again, that one is not off the table as of yet. Now, obviously, the main goal is to get constitutional carry across the country, right? We need for each state to recognize that we have an individual right to protect ourselves outside the home. Just like the Supreme Court said, we have a right to our own defense outside the home. And so there shouldn't even be a question here. But you have states that are defying the courts on a daily basis. The lower courts are defying the Supreme Court, or they're finding workarounds, or, they're just misinterpreting what they said. But that obviously is the ultimate goal, to have constitutional carry everywhere. And hopefully these organizations that are taking these things to court won't stop just there, and they'll continue going after this, because again, I think that this is a huge problem, that we have such a patchwork of these different laws. You never know what you're going through. When I would go visit family in Montana, I'd have to travel through 4 different states in order to get there. Each one had different rules and regulations. That's not the way that it should be. We need to make sure that people aren't caught up in stuff like that because they didn't realize that they passed a border 5 minutes ago. So I wanted to share that with you guys. It's a great win. Vampire rules done in New York, at least as of right now, and it does take effect immediately according to that court order. So, private businesses, don't worry about a sign. It doesn't matter anymore. Thanks for watching. You guys have a great day.